Hey Brookwood students and Brookwood families, this is Jacob here, giving you our weekly recap of what we talked about this past week when it comes to worldviews of sexuality, of relationships. We looked at what the world says is good and affirming and acceptable. We looked at what our emotions might tell us from time to time. But more importantly, we looked at what God says in His Word. We looked at what God has designed sexuality and relationships to look like and what He thinks about those who don't necessarily do that. And we looked at why God has designed our bodies to be and experience each other in a certain way. We talked about our friendships with people in the LGBT community and talking about how we can love them just as Christ loved them. We talked about our relationships with people and how sometimes we have to choose being kind and maintaining the relationship over always trying to be right. It's better to have the relationship with people and love them where they're at and let the Spirit convict them of what's wrong. We always have to choose to be there for people, love them where they're at, just as Jesus loved His people, brokenness and everything. I hope you enjoyed this past month's series on Real Talk, talking about sex, talking about relationships. I know these things can be uncomfortable. I know these things can feel like they're not something that we should be talking about, but these are good, Christ-honoring, noble conversations to be having. And I'm proud of you for having them so far. I hope that you're continuing to have those with your parents, continuing to have those with your leaders, as we create a much more open dialogue of talking about these things that can sometimes just feel uncomfortable. We'll see you next week for a brand new series we're just kicking off about who is Jesus. We'll see you next week.